Hey everyone, my name is Kayla Brendel and I am one of the instructional technology specialists for Floyd County Schools. This week's tech tip is going to focus on Google Classroom. You might have figured out by now that students cannot unenroll themselves from a Google Classroom. This is great during the year, but around this time it starts to get a little stressful for students because they are being added into new Google Classrooms and they still have all of their old ones showing up on their classes page. Today I'm going to show you how to return all student work, make a copy of your Google Classroom, and how to archive that class. This will help clean up your Google Classroom page as well as your students. All right, let's get started with tip number one, returning all student work. So you're going to go into your Google Classroom and we're going to go to your to review list. There are a few different ways that you can get to the review section. The first is from this classes page. You can just click the button at the top that says to review, or you can click the menu button in the top left hand corner and click to review. Here's why this is important. Once a student has turned in an assignment on Google Classroom, you, the teacher, become the owner. This means that the students can view the file, but they can no longer edit or make any changes. You want to make sure that you return the assignments to students once they've been graded. That way, you are no longer the owner and it returns the ownership to the students. That will be helpful later on when you tackle cleaning out your Google Drive. Okay, let's return student work. So from the to review page, you can use the drop down at the top to filter by a specific class. Your goal is to have all zeros next to turned in. All right, so I'm just going to click into an assignment. You can quickly return all your student work back to all of your students by going up next to all students. You'll see this checkbox to the left. Click that checkbox and you'll be able to click return from there. That's an easy way to do it if all of your assignments have been graded and you can just quickly get them all back. If you still have assignments to be graded, you can click on the assignment. It will open it up. You can add their grade in right here, and then you can return individual assignments this way by going up and clicking the blue return button in the top right hand corner. You can also click the drop down to the right of return and you can return multiple submissions. All right, let's move on to tip number two, and that is how to make a copy of your Google Classroom. So I've got my Google Classroom right here, fourth period ELA. If I want to make a copy, I'm just going to click on these three dots and I'm going to go to copy. This will take either a few seconds or a few minutes depending on how much content you have in your class. So just give it a minute. When you make a copy of your class, it makes an exact duplicate with all the same topics and all the same assignments. So I can go here. You'll notice it gives me all of my topics and my assignments, and they're saved as drafts. It will not copy over your student roster, so you don't have to worry about having any students. It does not copy over any of your announcements on the stream page, but don't worry, you can always copy announcements from a previous class, even if it has been archived. Personally recommend making a copy before you archive the class, but once you have archived the class, you can always make a copy after as well. Which brings us to tip number three, and that's archiving your classes. So we're going to head back to the classes page. We're going to go back to those three dots. So I'm going to hover over the class that I want to archive. I'm going to go to the three dots. I'll click on the three dots and I'm going to choose archive. You're going to get this message that lets you know what's going to happen. Basically, when you archive a class, it's going to freeze the class. Students can no longer turn in assignments. They can't make changes. Even you as the teacher can't really make any changes in the class unless you restore it. But it's going to move the class off your main classes page and move it into your archive section. So you'll see that it's no longer on this page and it's going to move it into my archive section. So I can go down to my archive classes and it is still here. Archiving a class is like putting your classes in a filing bin just in case you need it later. Not only does it remove it from your classes page as the teacher, but it's also going to remove it from your students' classes page, which is a big deal for your students. Remember that you can still go back even when you're in archived classes and make a copy. I wouldn't delete a class because once you delete a class, you no longer have access to any of the student work that has been turned in or the assignments. I hope you've enjoyed this Tuesday's tech tip.